All right. Good morning. How are you doing, Liz?
How are you doing, Dan? Good.
I'm good. I got my coffee going.
Yeah.
It's getting ready to snow outside, and it's Friday morning, so I'm doing well.
Yeah. This is typical Iowa weather. It was like, 45 degrees this week, and now it's going to dump on us.
Yeah, pretty normal for this time of
The
year
ray
for
gun
us.
weather forecast was correct.
Yeah, that's a great. Is that just on a T-shirt? I think they might have a
Yeah,
mug
they have it
that
on
has that
t-shirt. They
too.
have like a printable thing too. My friend posted it on Facebook, and I was like, that is very accurate.
Oh, yeah, extremely true. Um, all right. Well, let's dive into our topic for today. Uh, we want to talk about administration roles. Administration roles are something we have 24 of them on Corridor Careers right now. It's a popular role, uh, always a lot of interest in it. But I wanted to get your thoughts. I guess number one, what do you think are some traits or some things that people need if they want to work in administration?
Oh, that's a good question. So, yeah, administrative roles are awesome entry level positions because they get you acclimated to the workforce, like in a way that is really a really nice way to enter the workforce if office work is something that you feel like would be a good fit for you. So, I think the traits that you're going to be looking for can sometimes be summarized in what like if you know what you don't like. So like if I don't want to work outside, if I don't want to work with my hands, if I don't want to be standing all day, then maybe, okay, well, maybe administrative work might be something right for me. And so some of the skills that someone in administration might have would include just good organizational skills. Being personable is always helpful in an office setting because you're going to be working with a lot of people. You'll probably be working with customers occasionally. So being personable and friendly is really helpful. Um, Being comfortable with trying new software systems is definitely helpful too. Although there are a lot of old-timey office skills that are still in place. Like we have a position on our board right now that's a filing assistant. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably not going to be filing things into a filing cabinet, but you're going to be sorting through documents and maybe images and putting them into virtual files. So it's really the tasks are the same, just the method of how we do them has slightly changed, depending on the role. I think an office role is one of the first jobs I ever had. I was an office assistant for a doctor, and my job was to call patients and remind them of their appointments, and
Yeah.
then to type their names on labels and put them on their medical files. And I'm sure that's probably not something done the same way anymore. Not a lot of automation has replaced that job, but I'm sure there's a few offices that still use a person to do those things.
Sure. Yeah. And I think you bring up a really good point there with being personable, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so in your example, you were calling patients to remind them of their appointments. I think if you think about administration, there's a lot of different applications, and uh, it's a really good way to get your foot in the door, right? With
Mm-hmm.
a company that you may see yourself growing with. When I
Mm-hmm.
think about different administration jobs or people that I've worked with that worked in administration, they know the business so well. After they
Right.
get acclimated, they understand how the business operates, and so they have this ability to help a variety of different people within the business, right? And so um, when you find the company that you want to work for, and even if you can get your foot in the door as a administrative assistant or a
Mm-hmm.
bookkeeper or clerk, something like that, you can move around in the company once you get in and establish yourself and show everybody that you work hard because you'll understand the business so well.
Yeah. It almost feels like it should be a requirement if you're going to get your MBA to actually work in an office,
Right.
because that's really where you really learn exactly what you're saying, how the business works. And so typically, so we could just take a look. Carol, I'll share my screen. We could take a look at some of the jobs that we have on the board right now, so you just can kind of get a handle of like what's out there in our market. So you can see the word clerk and assistant are kind of repetitive here, and coordinator is a common term too.
Mhm.
Although we have seen like recently the word coordinator may be kind of trailing as far as keywords, but that's a good keyword for you to search if you're looking for an office role, because really coordination is part of like communicating between teams, making sure that any business activities are coordinated with the tasks that need to be done in order to make those activities happen. You could see things like your traditional government roles, like a city clerk or an account clerk, with different governments are on our board, which is a nice way to get into city government or administration.
Mhm.
Receptionist is a common one as well. We're seeing less receptionists just because of COVID. There's just fewer receptionists, but definitely in hospitality, that's never going to go away.
Right.
And then you could work from anywhere, like a nonprofit, like the community foundation, to, a manufacturer, or, just administrative roles are necessary at pretty much any kind of workplace. So it just depends on what style of working you like. If you want to work in nonprofits, you can probably find an administrative role in there. If you want to work for profit, you could find something there. And then if you want to particularly work in the healthcare field, there's going to be a lot of administrative roles there as well. And that can be really rewarding to work in, those fields in the administrative role, because you get that kind of like bird's eye view. So let's just take a look at one of these. I'm going to pick one here, Dan.
Let's just do the administrative assistant for University of Iowa Center for Advancement.
Okay.
There
we go. All right. So University of Iowa job duties are always really spelled out, and you'll find that with the University of Iowa, as well as like municipal roles typically have pretty detailed job descriptions. So that's actually kind of helpful for a job seeker, because you kind of can really get a sense of what this role is going to entail.
Mhm.
So I'm just kind of scanning through here, and I can see that this is, it's a remote friendly position, and it's full time. So that's kind of cool. It allows for significant telecommuting. So that is an old-fashioned term for remote work, up to 5 days per week, depending on the business need, after the first 90 days on site. So that's kind of cool. You'll get trained on site, and then you'll be able to work from home. So it looks like they're going to be doing some basic things like making hotel reservations, so purchasing style type things, helping the advancement officers, and advancement officers is a code word for, I think, fundraising, correct?
That is correct.
It's like you're gonna be Sherlock Holmes in these, but advancement is like a keyword that I know means fundraising. So
yeah,
you're basically going to be a personal assistant in a way for the fundraising officers. So this could be a really interesting role. Uses available information to answer questions. So anytime I kind of scan through things, and I kind of highlight things that I'm not quite sure what they mean, I might read through it a couple times. And then they tell you what the benefits are. So you'd have to visit this link in order to see their full benefits, but it seems like they offer some pretty decent benefits. And if I wanted to apply, I would just click apply now, and it would take me to the recruiting site, which will probably require me to create an account and log in. So that's just one example of an administrative role that we have on our job board. We have such a variety.
Yeah, and I like that one. It's you're more serving in that role, more serving maybe the internal people that you work with, right? Mm-hmm. Versus maybe taking a lot of external calls or something like that, or dealing with customers so much. So, your customer is kind of your coworkers, I guess.
Yeah. And that's kind of cool too, because you could, when you're doing your job search, it's really important to figure out what you don't want, and then kind of look into the opportunities so if I don't want to be primarily working with customers or like making calls, then I know that I want to be doing something at an internal level, mm-hmm. But you're still going to need to use the same skills, right? Like you're still going to have to call make hotel reservations and, do those things. So you just kind of have to figure out what's my comfort level and what role might fit in with that.
Yeah.
And there's probably, with there being so many jobs, I mean, we have over 500 jobs on the job board here in Corridor Careers today. There's probably going to be something that meets your needs.
Yeah, you can definitely find something that you're looking for right now. That is for sure. It's a job seekers market, lots of jobs available. All right. Anything else before we sign off talking about
I would just
administration
say
roles?
for people that are creative, like who are in a creative role, maybe like a harder to find job, like you could potentially cross over that skill set to administrative, like because administrative roles require a lot of creativity just in a different way. And it's usually through creative problem solving. So if you're really, you need a job and your skill set may not exactly match up with administrative roles, like you don't have a lot of job history in administrative roles. If you're creative and if you have like kind of strong problem solving skills, those are going to be really important to bring up in a potential interview, a cover letter, or like whenever you're talking to somebody about your interest in an administrative role. Say, hey, I don't have a lot of experience in administration, but I'm really good at solving problems and I'm great with people. Like any of those things that kind of help you cross over that gap could be beneficial to you, because those are going to be really strong, important skills in any of those roles.
Absolutely. And that, like what you just said, brings up something. This could be, administrative roles might be a really nice fit for somebody that's been out of the workforce for a while, right? Maybe you stayed at home with the kids for a while, and you were organizing all these different things, right? Like you were, soccer practice and meals and all that type of stuff. That translates really nicely to an administrative type role, getting back in the workforce.
Yeah, I mean, if you were handing your household bills and effectively, I mean, that's bookkeeping 101, right? Like
Yep.
if you've effectively paid your bills, then you are doing a good job.
Yeah.
And that's something that an employer would be interested in. So yeah, you just kind of have to talk through those little gaps. I mean, everybody's going to have some kind of gap in either their employment or their experience, and it's very easy to overcome those.
Cool. I love it. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep. You guys have a great week.